Hey everybody, welcome to the new series, the Tailgate Sessions with Greg and Gordo. I'm Robert Gordon, and next to me is my good friend,
Greg Carr.
which everybody already knows. He's the star, I'm just the knucklehead he's bringing along with this. Anyhow,
We're coming at you live from Frankie's Grill, and as promised on the channel earlier tonight, this is going to be the Tailgate Sessions, and in the future, they'll be filmed on a tailgate, weather permitting, but you know what? It's an EMS podcast. I cannot think of a more EMS thing than having the plan go off the rails right off the bat. So,
oh yeah.
I like it. I think we're already headed in an EMS direction, to tell you the truth.
Well, due to our schedules, it is completely dark outside.
Yeah.
And we don't have any firewood to lighten it up. Plus, where we're at probably wouldn't be too fond of us starting a fire out there.
No, they would not.
Yes. So we're coming at you from Frankie's Grill. These people here are very nice and gracious and let us do our podcast here. So, Greg, tell everybody a little bit about what we're going to be doing.
All right, so the concept here, guys, is and this is how I introduced it on the channel. Rob and I are travel medics. We've been a little bit of everywhere. We've done a little bit of everything. We've done it for a long time. And the people that we've interacted with, wherever they send us, this is a young man's game, young woman's game, so to speak. And we see a lot of young folks, and Rob and I have decades of experience in it, and a lot of people will gravitate towards us because of this. And it's not that toxic experience, it's the good experience. We've adapted to the times, we've updated our education and so on. And, we thought if these kids, and I hate to say kids, it's not in a bad way, but if they're asking us these questions, maybe everybody else has these questions. And we want to talk about EMS, and we want to talk about all of it. And I can't think of a better way to start that than how we got into it, why we got into it. And so everybody knows me. I'll do a brief rundown here in a minute, but what I'd really love for you guys to do is get acquainted with Rob, who is definitely a person that I made fast friends with. And if you know me, you know that means a lot. I don't usually hand out the cool points really early. Rob got them right off the bat. Well, it might have been because of Jackson. He's got a black Labrador named Jackson I like a whole lot. But Rob is a very interesting character with a lot of experience. So I'm going to ask Rob to give you his resume so you'll know why you should be listening to him and why his opinion is valuable. And then I'll do a brief rundown of mine for anybody who's not familiar with the channel up until this point. So Rob, if you would, take it away. Tell these people where you've been, where you're from, and how you got here. The series of bad decisions that led you to EMS.
Okay, so first off, speaking of Jackson the Black Lab,
he's awesome.
I got him when I was traveling, and he's been my travel companion ever since I got him. He's 2.5 years old, and Greg first met him when he showed up a day early to our Airbnb and opened up the door, and there was a big black nose right in his crotch.
Yeah, there was. I'm there in Oregon about 1 a.m. I'm tired. I've flown all day. It's raining because it's Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
And I open this door, and there is this mammoth of a dog. Because labs are pretty good size anyway, and Jackson is well fed and super muscled, and he had this look on his face like he was deciding whether or not to eat me. And it might depend on whether or not I had anything for him to eat. And I looked at him, I'm in this strange place. I've never been here. And I said, ain't nobody afraid of you, come here. And he started wagging at me. And we were best friends from that point forward. He would go home and leave Jackson with me. I swear, I wish, I didn't even say I wish anything because this job changes, but I hope we're back in a situation soon where Jackson could come back.
Oh, he's coming. He's coming. I just need to go get him.
Yeah, now we're hotel dwellers, which that adds a unique dynamic to it. It's different than an Airbnb, and we're going to cover all that in here. We're going to talk to you. A lot of people ask me, how do you get into the travel gig online? We're going to tell you a lot about it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll just keep it clean so we can keep our jobs.
and first off, speaking of our travel team, we're on a very specialized group of paramedics. There's currently about 75 of us right now, and we are full-time for a company, and we travel to the sites where they need to backfill units because of staffing shortages. So when we show up to a place, we have to make friends really quick. We have to learn protocols really quick, learn the system really quick. and just get acquainted with everything, because we typically have about 2 days from the time we first show up till we're running our own ambulance. And that's challenging in itself, no matter how long you've been in this field. Anyhow, to back up a little bit, and one more thing. The place that we are currently at is full of some amazing people, and that seems to be the way it is everywhere we've been so far. You know, once you get in and you get to know everybody, and they finally accept you because they know that your heart's in the right place, and you're here to work like you were sent here, and to pull on that rope and help them be more successful. We've got some amazing paramedics where we're at, but more than that, amazing EMTs. Our partners are what keep us afloat on an ambulance, because, quite frankly, we don't know where we're at.
You know, that last spot they had us, and I don't mind saying where we were, up in Oregon. It's a pretty typical West Coast model. You've got fire department, EMS is going to back them up and do those transports, and we had the privilege of working with a department there called TVF&R, Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. And I mean, you want to talk about a group of rock stars. It's hard to say enough good things about those guys and girls up there. I mean, they were getting it done, you know.
Yeah, so, you know, on that note, you know, we run with a lot of fire departments, as do all of you, and some of you work for fire departments, so you know that there are different levels of commitments from fire departments towards EMS. None of them are bad. Some want to just go and assist the EMS. Some of them, the EMS is with fire and they live together, work together, which is a great system. I retired from an amazing system like that in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So Broken Arrow Fire, some of the best people I've ever worked with.
Some places show up for 6 minutes and look for a way to do less.
Yeah, well,
it runs the gambit.
One guy's got his ear up going, "Do you hear him yet?"
Slow roll to everything so you get there first. You get a little bit of everything in this job.
But with that being said, you're absolutely right. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, Washington County, an Oregon suburb of basically Portland.
Yeah, everything on the other side of the river pretty much belong to us, and then the suburban escape around it.
This department that we're speaking of, they dedicate probably more training to EMS than they do fire. And when they show up, there's 4 on a truck. Most of them are paramedics. And when you get there, you typically, they're going to give you a handoff that's second to none. If the patient's critical, they're probably going to want to maintain paramedic in charge if possible, or work together. But they are dedicated. They attack EMS with probably more enthusiasm than fire. But on the fire side, I've watched them fight some good fires, and boy, they hit it hard with a lot of people, and they put it out.
I don't know if it's more enthusiasm or if it's just that we got to see more of the EMS, because that's kind of what we were doing. I know I got to see them. They were doing training at the Ops Center. You know, they had that, 4 or 5 story building. And I mean, it was 90-something degrees. These cats are in full turnout gear, fires going, you know, running up the steps, training. I mean, they were getting it done. You know, it was impressive to see guys dedicate that amount to it. And you know, recently on TikTok, Facebook, all that, there's been quite a bit of a kerfuffle about the whole fire medic thing. And you know, when you're going to be a fire medic, you got to give 100% of yourself to both jobs. It's a dual role, and a lot of people they see through their degree to get that paramedic cert, and then they just want to be a firefighter, and they sort of abandon the EMS of it, and they don't really go with logic. That was not something we saw with those guys, you know. And we just want to give a shout out, man. We made a lot of friends. We saw a lot of good pre-hospital medicine up there. And people are so quick to call out the whole, anytime there's something negative. But you know, throw a positive out there. I mean, and no, we didn't get paid to say this or anything like that. And nor does anybody there have any impact on our career. We just wanted to give a shout out, you know.
You know, when do you see a fire department? We all see one engine. But you see a fire department when you have a critical medical patient, send 2 fire engines, 8 people, and they are all there pulling on that same rope to save that one life. And that's what TVF&R stands for. And we miss you, by the way.
Yeah, we miss you guys.
Trevor, Naomi, Engine 62, Medic 35, we love you guys. So with that being said, my name is Robert Gordon. I've been a paramedic since 1989. I got my paramedic when I was 1 year old, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not that
Okay.
old, yeah. Born and raised in Texas, just a dumb old redneck. Got my paramedic license just north of Dallas, and then they were offering me a whopping $6.65 to work in Fort Worth as a paramedic, and Tulsa offered me $1 more an hour, so I moved to Tulsa.
I go there. Yeah.
Worked at IMSA. For all you people that watched the first 48, you see IMSA on there a lot. That's
Yep.
where I basically had my first big full-time gig in EMS. And then 3
I
years
know
later,
you were busy down there.
Oh, absolutely.
They're killing each other left and right down there. Enough they made a TV show about it.
and before they really made that TV show, I honestly think that back then there was probably more homicides. We were running shootings and stabbings left and right. But
I can believe that.
I transitioned over to Broken Arrow Fire Department, spent 25 amazing years there with some of the best. We did fire and EMS, did our own transports, flew on some medical jets in between, shifts for several years. I've always basically had a second full-time EMS job. And then after I retired, started the traveling thing. And as you know, the landscape of our profession changed with the COVID.
Yeah.
And that really changed how we function as paramedics, because before that we would do hurricane deployments and wildfire deployments, and that's basically all you ever heard of us doing for deployments.
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
we have many companies that they just have staffing for when FEMA deploys, then they get pulled in, and so many deployments.
It was a wrench in the gears, man. COVID was, it was unlike anything I had seen, which isn't saying a ton, nobody sees everything, but it left a lasting impression on this. It was never going to be the same again. You know what I mean? The way things are done operationally, all the way down to sanitizing stuff. COVID left a lasting impression.
It's a different landscape, and
Yeah.
I tell you what, I've seen a lot of changes in our profession. Maybe we can cover some of those later, but I have never seen a change like the one we've had since COVID. And back
Not for the better, not necessarily for. They made some lemonade. They pulled some good stuff out of it, but not all of it.
yeah, and that's one of the biggest conspiracy theories as well. Is
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
anyway,
So you've got 37 years, right?
37 years as a paramedic.
And that's all over the place doing all kinds of stuff. You kind of build a career in the Southeast. Like every medic, you got 2 or 3 jobs, right? Because that's the way the game is played, right? That's how we get 10 years of experience in the first 4 years. We overtime.
Well, a lot of overtime, because as everybody knows, down there, a paramedic may make $15 an hour.
Yeah.
And the place may be fully staffed, and so you can't sit there and try to negotiate more money, because there's 10 people that want your spot.
Yeah. They all want that job, and it's
Back in the day when I tested for my first fire department job, which I got, there were 300 applicants for 5 jobs.
wow.
Now, such a shortage of paramedics, which is why there's a need for us,
Yeah.
these travel teams. And the company that we worked for was smart enough to start their own travel team with benefits and get their own people in, so they could control all the money that they went into the team and not into a subcontractor's pocket.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing that we constantly have to tell people, is that we are, because there's several companies that kind of do this now, but we are travelers, but we are not contractors. Full-time position, 401k, the whole nine. We're based out of a place on the West Coast, although I've never been there. You might have that particular city, but we go to the places
That's where
send us to.
That's where I did my onboarding.
Yeah, see, I did mine online.
And
was, yeah.
I was there for 3 days. But yeah, like the difference is these. I worked for a subcontracting company out of Indiana, and I was on a deployment for this company, and I was making $25 an hour.
Nice. What year was this?
This was back in 2021. But
Puts it in context, because inflation's been out of hand.
But
past
hold
few
on.
years,
FEMA rates that subcontractor was pulling $100 an hour every hour I was on the ground there.
I believe it. I
And
do.
and everybody that worked for that subcontractor was getting 25. And so, you know, that was a way for them to really make millions of dollars off of our backs.
Oh, the money's in running a team. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The money is in being the contractor, not the subcontractor.
Well, they were getting $10,000 a day per vehicle, and then $100 an hour per employee, and they weren't putting that back into us. So the team that we're on now is a godsend because we make a great wage, and it allows us to provide for our families, which we don't get to see much of.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get into the into our group thing later a little bit more to help some of these people. But where we're at right now, we love everybody. We're going to actually have some of the local people we work with come on to our podcast because there are so many topics out there, so many stories, so many different ways of doing things, so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I would love for some of these people we work with here to come join us. And one of our biggest supporters, and you would love him, he is a character.
Yes, sir. Johnny O.
Johnny
O.
the
No
Big
doubt about
O.
it. Yep.
And the Big O's been doing it as long as we have.
You gotta do the Johnny O pose
Yeah.
from the photo. I love Johnny.
And you know
He's
what's great about Johnny O? Johnny O is a career EMT.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we're seeing up here where we're at
Yeah.
is they make good enough wages here that you don't have to be, you're not, up here you're not just judged as being successful if you're a paramedic.
Yeah.
There are career EMTs here that make good money and they are the best in their field and a successful career, and I have nothing but respect. And Johnny O is just amazing.
You know, those are the guys that and it was a culture shock for me because I cut EMS teeth. I cut my adult teeth, on the East Coast with EMS, where EMS is its own separate entity. You don't run with the fire department except for in small beach communities where you're trying to get the most out of your budget, right? And they'll put a skew on a fire department in those small places. But where I live, where I'm from, and everywhere around it, 911 is its own thing. And so this sort of lends itself to this culture of, all of your EMTs are just on their way to medic school. They're about to go to medic school. And it's because the wages are terrible. The first person I brought back from the dead was for $14.15 an hour, and that was in 2012. Yeah, 2012.
Okay.
So, when you get out here and you see these guys making wages and you get to meet a career EMT who's got Papa Joe's the same way, got 30 years, 20 years. These are rock stars. I mean, if I can't have a career EMT as a partner, I'd rather have a brand new guy.
Yes.
'Cause then you don't have to break any bad habits. But I really love that they can have that because I'm going to tell you, you want to talk about a subject matter expert. A lot of the EMTs that you see on the East Coast, where I'm from, they're just not a medic yet. But these EMTs, they're SMEs in what they do, where everything is, the fastest roads, the traffic patterns. Not relegating them to being a driver because when they're in the back and we're working together, man, they're hot shit. They're hitting everything.
Yep.
It's like, I want to work too. Sometimes, let me touch something because, the vast majority of calls in 911, it's going to be BLS, right? 1 out of every 25 calls is going to be, maybe a serious medical call. And 1 out of every 25 of those might be life or death.
Unless you're me.
Right,
I'm a
yeah,
black
because
cloud.
you're bad luck. Yeah, this man needs a horseshoe. It was going to start a GoFundMe for the Let's Get Rob, a horseshoe, and a 4-leaf clover fund. But
If it
we'll
makes
get
enough
into
money,
that.
I'll
Yeah.
let them choose where the horseshoe goes.
We'll get into that, but some of these guys it's been a real mind blower for me, but in a good way. I love it, and I think Johnny is he's the living embodiment of that, man. You want to talk in a good mood? Be raining outside.
When
all
I'm in a
trucks
bad
with
mood,
cats
he's in a
down.
good mood, and it brings me up.
Johnny's
But
a ray of sunshine.
these young EMTs that we work with are so enthusiastic,
Yeah.
and they're so eager to get to a scene. They're so eager to do a great job.
Yeah.
And they're asking us, hey, can I put a 12 lead on for you? Can I get this set up and all that? So we're old.
Yeah.
We bring a lot of knowledge, but we don't bring a lot of the enthusiasm certain days because we're
Sometimes,
tired.
Yeah. Sometimes.
They have,
Well, I mean, you've seen it 20 times.
yes, 20,000 times.
Yeah,
But the thing
yeah.
is they make me a better paramedic because of their enthusiasm, but also when you ask them to do something, they don't want to question you or in a bad way. They don't want to give any pushback or anything like that. So you can truly be a team and get out there and make a positive difference.
You know, that's a very different dynamic too. That was a culture shock to me on the East Coast, and maybe it's for the reasons we were just talking about, where you're almost all your EMT partners are in medic school, which they have plenty of that here, but the dynamic between paramedic and EMT here is much more akin to physician and nurse, versus on the East Coast, it is not like that. Like I'm used to being sometimes heavily questioned, scrutinized. Like I can remember back in the days when I was, I think I was acting supervisor on my shift. I had an intermediate sort of try to hijack a code I was running. And it was one of those things where, they were pushing me, and it was like, well, what do you want to do? I said, what I want to do is run this code. And we're going to talk about it in the office after this is over. And that has not happened here at all. It is a wonderful dynamic, not an authoritarian structure, but it's a place where people occupy their roles and they work on being an expert in that role. And so I know I got a lot of guys on the East Coast that follow the Shade Tree Cardiology page. So, we figured you might find that interesting, that it's a totally different dynamic out here. But, we're 20 minutes into this thing, and we're already starting the tangents, which I love, right? Everybody knows I'm going to go on a tangent. Why did you get into EMS?
Well,
what brought you to this hellscape that we exist in?
Look, I grew up poor in Texas. Poor. I had the best mom and dad. My stepdad was the most amazing guy in the world. But we were poor, dirt poor. I couldn't even spell EMT. Okay.
You can now?
I don't know. Probably not. But look, we moved to a little town in North Texas, and I was a freshman in high school, and a senior took me under his wing, and he turned out to be one of the most amazing men I've ever met. Right?
What's the name of the town?
Jeff. Jeff Dumas.
Okay.
But he went to paramedic school, and he really kept in touch after he graduated. And small town. We lived out in the country. He lived about 3 miles by dirt road, but I could cut about a half a mile through the woods, which there were some good bass fishing ponds on the way. So
that's the best damn part of rural EMS.
Well,
man. You gotta live it to appreciate it.
It may take me about 6 hours to walk a half mile through the woods, because there's 2 or 3 good bass fishing ponds, and you throw a Texas rig worm and you can spend all day there in the summer.
I've been fishing on duty.
Man!
It was this little. Just a sidebar here. It's this little I don't know what you call it, a standalone EMS station, and we went down and we caught a bunch of perch. And literally cleaned them and had a fish fry, but we caught them on duty because they ran 275 calls a year.
Wow.
On the squad. And so this was like that third job everybody had, where you'd go down there and work 48 hours because you didn't do anything. So you'd have your full-time 911 gig, and then everybody teaches at some point, right? You got to teach. Yeah. And so I'd get my lesson plans and stuff together while I was on duty with this place, and I wasn't making a ton of money, but it was just like borderline embezzlement. Once you cleaned the station, which was never dirty, because there wasn't a lot going on. You had it made. I wish I wish Shade Tree Cardiology had really been what it is now back then, because the amount of material I could have generated would have been incredible. But in those days, it was just barely an idea in my mind, and had become like the complicated YouTube stuff. It wasn't this TikTok monster that it is now. This shit posting in the memes. You know what I mean?
And when I was in Montana, I trout fished on duty because my boss Curtis up in Cut Bank, Montana, he let us go trout fishing. He actually let us drive down to Great Falls 2 hours to the big store to buy trout fishing stuff on duty to go back and trout fish.
I got to find my. I had to show you on my phone. I was in the Gulf with a guy named Mike Tucker. Shout out Magic Mike Tucker on a Sunday in the Gulf of Mexico. I was a medic on a rig. We caught a 40-pound blackfin tuna because there was literally a school of tuna swimming around the rig. Because the only thing you can throw in the Gulf is food. And so that rig's been there 23 years, right? It's a production platform. So there's a whole ecosystem built off that food 4 times a day. Mike Tucker got his stuff out. He's a professional. He's a captain. He charters boats and stuff. He's I won't say he's a master mechanic or a senior mechanic with a company that I don't want to say his employer because people get funny about that. But he had everything with him and broke it all out, and we were tuna fishing. And our steward was a guy named Primo. He was a professional chef who came to the oil field for the money. He prepared our meals. I'm talking about we had that tuna from bait to plate in 45 minutes.
Oh,
we
wow.
had sushi, we had tuna steaks. Mike actually had a recipe for tuna salad that, man, if you put a bowl on top of your head, your tongue will beat your brains out trying to get to it. I mean, we ate tuna. Those guys on that rig took 40 pounds of tuna and made it disappear. I mean, it was gone. But
Wow.
these are the fun stories from EMS. I mean, what other
Yeah.
career does this happen in?
Yeah. So
Fucking
anyway,
tangents, man. I'm sorry.
so my buddy Jeff went to paramedic school,
Yep.
and so when I graduated high school, I didn't have any kind of direction in life. I didn't, like I say, I couldn't spell EMT. So because I respected Jeff so much, and because of how much he looked out for me, I decided to go to EMT school, and went EMT school for a summer, and then went straight through paramedic school. And just as I got hired on at that service in North Texas, Gainesville, Texas, to be exact, and Jeff and I rode bulls together. Jeff rode a lot of bulls. Down in Texas, you hunted, you fished, you dipped snuff, drank beer, and you rode bulls.
Bull rider.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was too poor to own a horse and rope. That's the rich people.
I can't
Yeah.
ride a horse.
Yeah, well, I could ride a horse, but I couldn't afford to buy one. Yeah, and then you had to have a truck to pull it, and then you had to have a trailer and then feed. No, I couldn't do that. But
I had a
anyway,
horse once I couldn't ride. I named him Charlie. Charlie horse.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
a rescue. He was never ridden, but he liked Yingling beer, and I fed him alfalfa cubes
yeah.
until I found a good home for him.
So anyway, the first week I was starting at the new service, I was supposed to go ride bulls at the rodeo that night with Jeff, but I didn't. His fiance was a nurse, and they went. And about midnight, we got a call on the phone because no cell phones, right?
Yeah.
And she said that he got stomped on. He was hurt at a small hospital in the far reaches of our county. And so we took off, and she'd been begging them, a one-room ER, she'd been begging them to call a helicopter, and they didn't. She knew he was hurt. And we got canceled halfway there, which was about 20 minutes on the way. And it wasn't until the next day we found out that he was killed by the bull.
Dang.
So everything I've done for 37 years has been in his honor, and I refuse to take one day off of doing the very best I can for every patient I run on, no matter rich, poor, whatever,
Yeah.
because it would be disrespecting his legacy because he's the one that got me in it.
That's the best part of this field. It's in my mind, right? This is the last bastion of what medicine was always supposed to be. It doesn't matter what it costs. I've got it. I've got two of them because I overstock. And it doesn't matter where you're from or what you make. If you need it, you get it.
Uh-huh.
You know, and you know there are people who sometimes fall short of that. But in EMS, it really is a place where I don't care what your insurance information is. The amount of times somebody's tried to hand me an insurance card, and I'm like, look, it's for the hospital, boss. I don't do any of that. You know,
Yep.
my job is to take care of you. And it's not so convoluted and tied to money. I mean, things have to run. You have to make profit if you're with a private agency. Or, you know, if you're with a public service agency, you have to keep the doors open. I know it goes off taxpayer dollars, and that's fine and well and fair. But, you know, those bills that get sent out, I mean, you're counting on recuperating a certain amount of those funds just to keep the doors open or to be able to give you guys raises so that the pay doesn't stagnate so badly that everybody goes to the next county over and you end up with the dregs. You know, and that's, I mean, if you're in EMS, if you've been here 5 minutes, you know what I'm talking about. You know, that's all too common that a county will be just supreme. They'll be fantastic. And in over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, the wages will stagnate, and the next thing you know, they're begging to hire people that they wouldn't have let in the door 10 years ago because for the money they have, that's what they can get.
Yep.
You know, it's an interesting, it's a hell of a thing. But if done right by the right people, this is the last bastion of what medicine was always supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't care where you're from. I don't, what do you need, and I'll take care of it. And
Yeah.
that's why I've stuck with it this long.
Yeah.
You know?
So, this podcast, like I say, we're going to try to bring it to people from a tailgate so that we can truly show you that we have a truck and a tailgate.
Yeah.
But
Also, yeah, we don't want it to be too self-important. That was the whole concept behind Shade Tree Cardiology. Was my grandfather was a shade tree mechanic with a 4th grade education who had to go help farm, sharecropping, that kind of thing, so that he could help support the family. There was very little use for someone who could find the angle of a triangle, in the 1950s, right? But he retired. A mechanic who worked for it was either the town or the county, but he had a government job. That's a big damn deal. Back in those days. He had retirement, he had health insurance, he had a pension. It was because he taught himself. He was an absolute champion of self-study, my grandfather, and on my mother's side, and he was a Chrysler man. Now, he loved Chrysler products, but whatever it was, all the way through diesels, if it would run, he would make it do so. You know? And that's sort of where we wanted to go through with this. I think so. Just to kind of bring that, and sometimes my train of thought is a caboose. I kind of forget where I was going with this, but that's the point. This.
Well, I think what we
Yes.
want to do is we're just two old rednecks from the South, but we've been doing this for so many years, and this profession has changed in so many ways.
Yeah.
But a lot of the ways that we were taught down south,
Yeah.
a lot of the places that we're at now, they look at us like, man, you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's just because
It's been fun to do that.
Yes,
to
and
kinda
it's
earn that reputation.
Yeah, and it's just because of where we come from and the way we do medicine where we come from, and we've been doing it for so long. So,
No, not only that, just as a practical people who don't take themselves too seriously. So just as a point of order in this podcast, we are not gurus, nor will we represent ourselves as such, right? The shade tree mechanics for the human body. But ask anybody, we're pretty good at it. And you can be too, and that's the point. When somebody jumps online and they represent themselves as a guru and they know everything, they often, you can't get there, but you can follow them.
yes.
And that's not the case. You can get there, you can get way ahead of where we're at. We just want you to understand that, and in order to kind of keep it real every day, we're going to come at you from the tailgate or from Frankie's Grill or whatever, because that's how this works, right? Everything's impromptu in EMS. You pull a solution out of a hat, or I'm saying out of a hat because we're online, but you guys know where we usually pull it from. That's the nature and intent of what this is going to be.
The most important thing is, we bring a lot of experience, and we've seen and learned from some of the greatest people that have ever been in this profession. But back in the day, it was so much different, and there are some things that we still carry with us to this day from those times in EMS, and they look foreign to people that have never seen that with us before, and you could have a critical trauma patient and everybody could be like, go, 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 and we're just relaxed. But that comes back to that old adage, slow and steady wins the race. We can go slow and steady and still beat your scene times from when you're panicking.
And in the South, we have a story about 2 cows.
Two bulls.
Two bulls. Yeah, if you know, you know. Matter of fact, in the South, that's where you acknowledge the difference between a bull and a cow. But that's kind of the point. There's going to be, if you're here for the war stories, buddy, there's going to be a bunch of them. And it's going to be a shoot from the hip. We're going to go on tangents and tell the war stories. But as a matter of talking about clinical excellence, clinical expertise, hard lessons learned that we hope to share with you, so maybe you don't have to make the mistakes that we made. You can go make different mistakes, and hopefully, I think Rob and I kind of settled on a part of this, guys, is going to be passing the torch, because I'm going to tell you, I've only got a couple more years of truck in me. I don't know how much more I got in me. This is... Well, I said it at the beginning, it's a young man's game, and I love it, man. I love to jump out of that rig and be, in the wind getting it done, but I pay for it. I'm tired. I'm pretty tired and wore out right now. And at some point, you've got to you got to hand it down to the other guys. And I would love to reach people en masse with this. Share those war stories. Talk about these clinical things that we think about, that we talk shop, these very practical lessons that we've learned over the years after we got wrapped around the axle in a protocol or whatever, and then finally took a step back and said, well, shit, you could just do it this way, and that would be da-da-da-da-da, and it's twice as effective. Just being vague, but still.
Maybe a couple ideas that we're going to come up with for our next podcast. I know that we've talked about this. We're going to talk about the differences in protocols between where we're at now and where we've come from everywhere else. The fact that, we could do so much more everywhere else, and here we treat it with the gas pedal a lot.
Oh, this is hard. Yeah, it's tough to have everything in a box, know exactly what to do, and have your hands tied, but that's the way the game is played.
It is.
And we're part of a team of people that, guys and girls, by the way, we have females on this team. They're great. There's no one who can't do this job, but you have to be the person that they can throw you a protocol book, a plane ticket, and give you one phone number for who you call when you get there.
And they may not answer.
Yeah. And you got to be ready to rock and roll within those protocols. So you have to know the medicine like the back of your hand. A protocol book honestly it's a place where I check to see what I can get away with.
Yeah, well, I've got to be honest with you. I've got like 10 different protocols in my head right now, and sometimes I get them confused.
I did that the other day.
Yeah, but and then also on another note, we were talking about something new to us here is I've intubated for 37 years. Mm-hmm. This is the first place I've been at that I'm using video laryngoscopy.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, and we want to share our opinions with that the next time. But the most important thing, we're going to be bringing some of our coworkers from here onto this podcast, because they're going to have some amazing stories, some amazing insight. They're going to be able to just really bring some flavor to this podcast. But we talked about this. We also want to hear your ideas.
Yeah.
And we promise we'll be true to our word. If we want to talk about your subject matter, and it is that important, we've talked about flying somebody out and plane ticket, hotel, and sit here and do a podcast with us.
Yeah, it's one of the things about the travel gig, is it's moderately lucrative. And so we're willing to put a few bucks of our own money. Hopefully this thing can sustain itself, but even if not, we'll be, buying some plane tickets to bring people out, because, you see, and this is something you see in this job that doesn't occur to everybody. And I see it in the comments every day on the Shade Tree Cardiology page. People think the way they do it in their hometown is the way it's done everywhere. And until you really begin to travel, like right now, I think I'm licensed in 4 states.
I am 5. As well, yeah.
So you really don't understand just how different it can be when you just cross an imaginary line on a map. And what we would love to have is other people coming in and giving perspectives, not just from the medical, because medical's important. It's the backbone, but operational, culture. We've already covered today about how, on the East Coast, your partner's just, at X stage of medic school or their journey to become a medic, whereas here, you'll have a professional emergency medical technician. You'll have a career EMT. And,
a lot of them.
And they're better at it. I'll die on that hill.
Most of them could do our job here.
Yep.
Because we are quite restricted in the paramedic sense here.
Yeah.
And but we have seen so many people's lives be saved here because it gets people off scene quick and gets them to a hospital quick. And that's something that I wasn't used to, because back where I come from, you have everything at your disposal, and you may be 20, 25 minutes on a lot of scenes. Here, you could be off scene 3 to 4 minutes if you need to be.
Well, and like back home, I know especially because it is a rural area where I live. The amount of times I've delivered someone to the ER who essentially just needs observation, it's unreal, and that's not necessarily the case here.
That's right.
And it's been that way for so long that their educational system is so far behind that they don't even have providers who have practiced at this level. And and you guys may be able to glean where it's at. It's up to you. I see guys in the comments crying about it because they live here. It's a hard row to hoe. But I'll tell you what, in terms of character, it's something. It's a character building exercise to know everything you can do, to know everything you should do, and not be able to do it off the top of your head. And it does help you with your what would you say, calling for orders. Because
Yes.
man, in a few months, the amount of times I've had a firefighter tell me, yeah, you can call for those orders, they'll never give them to you. And then you grab that phone and you make a 30-second concise statement to a physician telling them all the pertinent positives and the pertinent negatives, and they go, yeah, do whatever you want. We'll see you in a minute.
And you know why?
It's a big deal.
It's because where we come from, we know that when you need to call for orders, here's how it goes.
Yeah.
Hey, this is paramedic Gordon. I'm calling for Lasix and morphine and some IV nitro because I have a congestive heart failure patient.
Let's go down that road. Yes, let's talk about
this.
this.
Why.
Yes, let's go down that road.
Yeah.
I know this is an intro episode, but this is as good a place as any to set the tone.
Uh-huh.
A lot of new paramedics, especially new paramedics, not shitting on them. I was new, I remember. They almost try to impress the doctor with their knowledge or tell them every single thing that they've thought about in a call report. And I know you want the physician to know that you've considered everything. And that's, of course, a good idea if you have that kind of time. But if you, and this is something this place has helped me see by witnessing that dynamic where the relationship between an EMT and a medic is very similar to that of a nurse and a physician. I don't need my EMT to tell me every teeny little thing that they thought about on the way to making the decision that they made.
Uh-huh.
I just assume that we both know how it's done, and this is the way it needs to go down.
That's correct.
The physician feels the same way when you call them. Stand on business, make it snappy. They got 60 ER beds, and there's somebody screaming for a blanket and a turkey sandwich and some Dilaudid in every one of them, and they need you to state your business. I have someone who is don't give them the whole thing and lead them to the diagnosis when you're calling for orders. Here's a good example. Just allow me this leeway.
Yeah.
You know how I get, Let's say we have someone who is in pulmonary edema. They sound like an aquarium pump when you get them in the ambulance. No stethoscope needed, they're full, right? So when you're delivering a handoff report, you want to lead the physician to what your field diagnosis was.
Uh-huh.
You don't always say, I've got a 54-year-old male in pulmonary edema, because sometimes you don't want to overstep your boundaries, right?
Uh-huh.
They get a little cranky about that in certain places. When you're calling for orders for, say, Versed, because they won't tolerate CPAP.
Yes.
And here we've got somebody who's tired, hypoxic. This is the last thing I'm going to do before I take their airway away. That kind of situation. You don't call and give a whole differential diagnosis list in those few minutes and say, I've got a 54-year-old male who is got obvious rails. They're non-compliant with medicines. They're unsure when they last took their Lasix. Their last oral intake was a ham sandwich at da-da-da. No. You call and say, hey, doc, I've got a 54-year-old male. He sounds like a Black & Decker aquarium pump. He is absolutely either flashing right in front of me or he waited way too late to call and he will not take this CPAP. His oxygen sat's 88 and his CO2 is reading 17, but we both know it's 100. Can I give this guy some Versed to make him tolerate this so I don't have to intubate him?
10 seconds.
That's how you do it. That's how you get those orders, and you always get like those big pie plate eyeballs, from the firefighters.
Because they wonder, how the hell did you do that?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the firefighters. It's not that they're any less intelligent. It's just that this is a bit of a culture shock. They've not seen it done this way where we're currently at. What we would love to do as a product of this podcast, as a product of this getting information out, is sort of share some of these life hacks with you guys, because it's become very cyclic. Every time we come to work, we often have new partners. We don't get to work with the same person. We're teaching these lessons over and over, and we were talking about it after we had a few too many, right? Too many. And we said, what we ought to do, man, we ought to throw some of this out here, because it's hit that point in our field. Our turnover it's so high that people aren't staying in it long enough to really get these finer points. Everybody wants to concentrate on the medicine and the rough endoplasmic reticulum and the medicine binds and the 50S ribosome and all that. And all of that is a moot fucking point if you can't get the orders you need when you're in a certain place. So sometimes you need to know how to play the game. That is really what I love to share. And I'll get good and nerdy, especially with the cardiology. You guys know me, and I assure you he can too. He'll just do it with a southern drawl, which is my favorite part. And I'll tell you guys the story, but that's how I got famous on TikTok to begin with the whole southern drawl and medicine. But this is really what we want to share. That example, that anecdote we just gave, that's what we want to share with you guys. And if you're into that, if you want to pick up some life hacks and some fun stuff, we're not selling anything, and you might get to come out here and have some scotch or a Diet Dr. Pepper, depending on what day of the week it is, and get it done. I hijacked it. Go ahead.
Well, no,
man. I know.
all I
I'm
was going to
sorry.
say, and let's talk.
How I get.
And I'm going to make this brief because I know we're going to end this real soon, and then we're going to get busy with our next one.
Yep.
But here's the deal. Same thing. When we first started, all your radio reports or your call downs to the hospital were on a radio.
Yep.
And you had to be very professional because of FCC guidelines and all that. So you'd be
everybody
like,
could hear it.
this is
The whole
Paramedic
county was
Gordon
listening.
with
Yep.
Medic 23, and we're currently code 3 to your facility.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on cell phones now.
Yeah.
Okay, so same thing. Don't be too technical with your radio reports. Just say, hey, this is Gordon on Medic 33. I'm currently 10 minutes out. I'm non-emergent. I got a so-and-so-year-old female, and she says that she's having chest pain. Says it's been for about 3 or 4 days now. We've ran a 12 lead, looks good. We got a line for you. Here's our vitals. Hey, we'll see you soon.
Yep.
Just talk to them like they're your best friend on the phone.
Yeah.
You're going to get their interest and keep it longer because, as you know, when you call, they lose interest in you in 10 seconds. They'll set that phone down, and then they'll pick it up about a minute later and go, you still there? We'll see you soon.
It's so true. You know what, though? Bit of a culture shock here is having your partner do your ring downs.
I don't.
You know what? I do because it was something I wanted to learn how to do. And how do I, and if you don't know what we're talking about, my whole career, I've keyed up the radio and said, Medic 71, so-and-so general, code 3, or coming to you emergency traffic, or where I cut teeth, there's this place called Duplin General back in the day, and I'd say, Duplin Medic 2, we coming at you live, and they could hear it in the background, because they knew me and I knew them. It was an 8 ambulance system that ran 10,000 calls a year to a more or less Band-Aid station, but that was a stroke center and could lice a STEMI. I'm talking about some of the best physicians and nurses and respiratory techs that you've ever seen in your life.
Because they had to do more with less.
Grinding in the trenches, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Cath lab's an hour and a half in every direction. Which one do you want to go to? I want to go to the one down south because the Krispy Kreme will be open this time of night after we get done.
Yes, and during the day, which one has the best barbecue joint?
Right. But, I would call this in and have to make these radio reports succinct where it was, I'm trying to convey what I have, that I'm not an absolute idiot, and that what resources you need to have available. Do you need to meet me in the trauma bay, or check and make sure that you got a wheelchair ready because they're going up front, and you're doing all that in 30, 45 seconds. And they do the ring down for you here. It's part of the culture here, where your EMT partner will call in your ALS call. Now, I will say, when it's all crazy, or when I'm doing one of my harebrained shade tree cardiology things, I'll say, Bubba, if you don't mind, let me call this one in. Because I don't want to offend them. But it's also helped me sort of translate and begin whittling this complicated picture in my brain down to give it to this EMT, because they've got to give it to this nurse who's going to give it to this doctor and play telephone. And for me, that's been a challenge that I think has helped me when I'm making those phone calls to the doctor. Yeah. What's the important shit, Greg? And so that's why I do it.
And the reason I don't is I had a very simple trauma patient one time, and these hospitals are so eager to trauma activate things that my partner gave a good report and they trauma activated it. So I just, if I'm going to die on that hill when I get to the hospital as to why I think they made a mistake, I want to be the one that gave the report. So anyway,
if you got to answer for words, you want to be the one that spoke them. I get that. And
so,
like I say, when it's intense, I'll
So
I'll
what
go
do
there.
you what do you say we cut this one short?
Sure.
And anybody that has any ideas, please send them to Greg. I may or may not get social media. I don't know, but if there's enough of
We're teaching him how to use a computer. We really are. Right now, he can chart. But
hey, when we first started being a paramedic, we used a chisel and a hammer on the rock for our run tickets.
Yeah, I had a scribe that would chisel it in hieroglyphics for me.
But
guys, seriously, so engagement, right? You are going to power this with the subject matter. It will be what you want to know and how you want to know it. The whole concept here is we're going to pass the torch. Part of that's telling war stories. Part of that's sharing this travel life, how to get into it if you really want to. And we're going to make sure you understand enough about it that you're going to know if you really want to, because it comes with a heavy tax. This is not as glamorous as it looks. When you get past the rental cars and the Hiltons and all that, it's a fucking grind.
It is.
And you can make $1. You're also gonna make sure that certain states have all of their social programs. I better get a Christmas card from these assholes. I better, because I'm paying taxes. But ultimately, YouTube is the first place this is gonna go up. Comment and tell us what you want to see, what you want to know, what you want to talk about. And if you're a subject matter expert, or if you're someone who's got some experience in this, you want to talk about it, we want to bring you out. We like to talk to people in person. I'm not a huge Zoom call
Me
guy.
neither.
I've done it if we need to. If you're in Uzbekistan, I suppose we can work something out, But if you're across the way, we'd love to have you in person, and we can make that happen.
And you never can tell. We may be closer to you than you realize already.
Yeah. And that's something we'll talk about offline. I'm not going to say we're unable, but we're damn sure unwilling to tell people where we are and with whom we're currently associated. I will tell you where I've been. I will not tell you where I'm at, and I have no idea where I'm going. So
I don't either.
Oh, you can get some past.
But I will say this: you're fixing to meet over the next coming weeks some of our coworkers that are going to have some great subject matter, some great stories. They're great people.
Got to get Johnny.
Oh, Johnny for sure.
Got to get Johnny.
But we hope you like these people as much as we do, and we hope you can see what they're going to be bringing to the table as far as something that may help you in your career, one way or another. And with that, man, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I'll see you at work tomorrow.
That's the first one in the books, but can't wait to hear from you guys, and I can't wait to share with you guys this whole new world that I've entered into and been welcomed into by people like Rob, by people like Johnny O. But we got to get him on. He's got to be like the first one, dude.
Hey,
that guy is awesome.
Also,
the world needs to meet Johnny O. I'm not bullshitting you.
One other thing.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to my son tonight, and I was telling him about this, and he goes, "If you want to have a good paramedic on your program, Dad, just let me know when I need to fly up." So,
oh man, bring him out.
Oh no. But what I do want to say is, Joey Gordon of Broken Arrow Fire Department, a hell of a paramedic, but Joey, your daddy could save him, so you better do a good job.
That's nepotism. All right, guys. I guess we're going to call it right here, and we'll see you soon. We've got a mobile setup where we can actually film this and publish it rather quickly. So we're hoping to keep this rapid fire. So I'm going to sign off. Get out there and practice, and let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know what you want to hear.
Hey, you don't have to be the best. Just do your best.
Yeah.
Man, that's all anybody could ever expect. And please be safe.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. I like that, because if one thing I've found is if I'm just doing the best I can do, a lot of times that comes out to be better than a lot of other folks because they're just not even trying.
Hey, just remember, perfectly packaged dead trauma patient loses style points.
That's right. And you can kill a patient according to protocol all day long. There's a lot more that's got to happen up here.
Well, a lot of times if you're just treating